Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Teresa. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Roberto.
I'm very excited to do this live with you today.
Oh my, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very honored, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa, for being here, for your generosity, and for being so present. And we've been thinking about doing this for a long time, right? And actually, first of all, I want also to thank you, the people who's connecting now on the live, which, by the way, I'm not going to look now in the chat. We are not going to look into the chat for the moment. So I will just close this window that we have up here, and we will be looking into the chat later when we are in the middle of the conversation. We will have a pause. So everyone who is connected, first of all, thank you for your time, because this is the most precious thing that we have. We cannot get it back, and we have to make the most of it. And so we hope that this time we are sharing with you is worth of this investment. And we will check the chat in the end. And just one thing, maybe if someone says something that we can check if everything is working, then we will close it. So I already see something here. So yeah. Okay. So let's forget about the chat for the moment.
Perfect.
And I would like to do a very quick introduction, because this conversation for me is a very special one. Yeah, because you have been my coach for the last year, and also you're the person who is responsible for introducing me. Yeah, in a positive sense. Yeah, you're responsible for introducing me to the wonderful world of coaching, and especially the proactive coaching. We met in a leadership training in
Yeah.
2021, and we had just two quick sessions. In this leadership program, you cannot do a full coaching uh, process. It's just some snack bites. And even that, I remember so vividly, because it was the first session that we had. I was like, bah, 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 explaining so quickly, so many things, so action oriented. And you said, Roberto, stop 1 moment and tell me, how are you feeling? And I look at you, and I'm very puzzled, and I say, what are you saying, Teresa? Yeah, I'm feeling good. I ate, I slept well. And you say, no, 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 no. I'm not referring to this. How are you feeling as a human being? And and I was taken aback by the question. I didn't know how to answer.
I remember, and I remember that you wanted to go back into telling me all your actions, and I was like,
Yes,
okay, can we go back to what's important, please?
exactly, exactly. And this is already one thing. And you see it with gently but firmly, you take back the person to what's important. And this is also something that you did amazingly. And thanks to that, then I was even more curious about coaching. And then in 2022, I was interested in doing some systemic coaching, and I approached a school, an academy. And then they told me, okay, why don't you consider also doing something on one-on-one coaching, because this is a basis. It's like you can combine both. It's very beautiful. And then when I did my first fundamentals course of the coactive coaching, I was like, wow. It was like 3 days, and please give me more. So I said, okay, maybe systemic coaching can wait. Let's go all in into the coactive. And fast forward, I'm now in the final phase of my certification, and you have been my coach during all this process from almost 1 year, since August last year, and I'm so grateful for that. Feel so lucky, and at the same time, I'm very curious, because since you are my coach, we always talk about me, and we never talk about you. So now, after this long introduction, which I think it was worth, because it's so important, you are so important to me in this moment. I would love to hear what's your story, Teresa.
Wow, thank you for asking. And first of all, thank you for sharing how you feel about our coaching process together. I think you've done well. Your journey is amazing. That's all I want to say now, and probably we will build on that. My story. Well, it starts when I used to work in project management. Okay, when I started my professional career. I first started in communication, and soon I started traveling. So I went to the European Commission and traveled there in Brussels. Then I was approached by Oracle, the IT company, and I went to London to work on project management. It was the .com period, so we were
Yeah.
really very focused on launching new projects.
Wow.
And then I was invited to go to Silicon Valley. They asked me if I wanted to take the project to Silicon Valley. And I said no, because back then I was already, for me, it was very important to feel safe and connected to my team. And my team was in Geneva. So I decided to move and go to Geneva. And when I was in Geneva, I went to IMD as a participant.
Oh,
And for me, it was like a wow moment. It was an eye opener. So I went back to Oracle, of course, and we kept in touch with IMD. I would write case studies with them from being at Oracle. And then at some point, I left Oracle, uh, set up my own company. I came back to Spain. That was a 5-year journey, and it was again amazing until that time when I said I'm gonna move on. And I sold it. I sold the company, and I was gonna start working at IMD as in communication. But I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was 36, and that's a tipping point for me because it helped me realize how important it is to empower people. So when I was going through that, for me it was very important to say that I am the one running my life and ruling my life. It's not the cancer. And I felt very empowered thanks to that. And I wrote a book. And well, to make the story short, I ended up creating a charity organization to help people who wanted to be moms after breast cancer, because that's what I did after breast cancer. I recovered. And then I said, in order to offer them support, I want to be a coach. And that's how I started. I went to that fundamentals. I fell in love with it. And I was already working at IMD back then because I had already recovered. So I was working in project management at IMD. And when I found coaching that initially was only for these women with cancer, I said, okay, this is what I want to do. So at IMD, it was very easy to actually reinvent myself and find my well into leadership. And that's how it happened. And so I've been working in parallel from that time, which is maybe, I don't know, 10 to 12 years ago at IMD, a lot of leadership. And also I had my part of working as a patient advocate, working with cancer patients, and working on my PhD to really research how professional coaching can empower people with cancer. And now I have a company, and I'm playing with both things at a time.
wow. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa, for sharing this. And from this big smile that you have when you explain it, it looks like an exciting and amazing journey. And there is one thing that I hear is that, like, some common point from the beginning to the story, from the end, which is the human connection and having impact on others. How this does this? What meaning has this for you?
What a great question. Thank you. Um, for me, uh, this work, being a coach and being with people, it's like a call, especially working with people who have cancer. Also with leaders, it's it's important for me to connect because connection helps us go deeper in our work together. So it doesn't matter if we are going to have 2 sessions or 10 sessions. We need to create a safe environment so you can feel free to explore without being judged, and to take risks.
Yes. And when you say connection and going deeper, you see, it reminds me that we don't need to have 7 hours to do that. And the proof is what I shared in the beginning of the conversation, of how we met. In just half an hour, if you really are interested and you're curious about the other person, if you see them as a human being, not as a task on the checklist. And you are project management also expert, so you know all about checklists and tasks. And perhaps even also because of this, you know how the project works, but at the same time behind the project there's a person. And when you connect with the person, even if 5 minutes, even if before a meeting or after a meeting you have a quick call, okay, I saw you, perhaps you were a little bit worried. What's happening with you? Did I say something that made you uncomfortable? I want to know.
Yeah.
And that's an example of 5 minutes. And you establish a connection. And you also, as you said, you talk about trust. And trust also perhaps start with showing that we have some doubt, that we are maybe we made a mistake or whatever, and then see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what you're saying is super important. That it comes from our curiosity. The
Yeah.
connection builds based on those questions we ask because we really care about the person in front of us. And sometimes when I'm working with my clients and I ask them questions and we talk about leadership and they have to deal with their employees, we talk about how they can connect better and more. They say, how can I ask these questions? It's invasive. And actually, maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe it's our own belief.
Yeah.
What I observed is that people like to be seen very much.
Yes.
And asking questions is the way to show that you're interested and that you see the other person, or at least want.
Absolutely. And I would also add on that if you ask the question, it's not like, again, it's not a checklist. I have to ask you, what's your biggest challenge, Teresa? And what, okay, because this is number 2 on my perfect manager checklist, and I'm very adept at this. No, maybe you can ask whatever. Oh, I noticed you had this. What did you do here? And what excites you now? Or whatever questions. And and this is also connecting again to the coaching and how coaching perhaps is not only one-on-one relationship, informal coaching relationship. And for me, one of the biggest, maybe the biggest one, discovery in coaching is that you always see amazing things in people. You just have to ask, and you also have to, you mentioned one thing, which is our assumption and our biases. If you leave our assumption and your label outside of the conversation, and you see, okay, am I willing to be surprised by this person? I have a label, for example, okay, Teresa is a project manager, she will be very rigorous, etc., etc. Maybe you are super creative, and that doesn't take off anything of the other thing that you are. So even if you have a label, okay, maybe this label is correct. For example, I'm very excited about technology and AI and all these things. And at the same time, I love this thing. I love coaching. I love listening to people's stories. And okay, we can be more things. And if you are willing to be surprised, and if you are looking for these things, you end up finding them. There is another little anecdote that I have when I was expecting my 2 children, which was when my wife was pregnant, we were looking into the street and we saw pregnant women everywhere. It was like, what's happening? Now everyone is waiting for kids, and it's the same world, but you are more attuned to something because you are experiencing that, and so you see that. And that's the same with people. If you are looking for brilliance, you see brilliance because there is. It's the same world.
Yeah, yeah. It's how you choose to focus your attention, where you put your energy. Yeah. And based on that, the world is there waiting for you.
Yeah, and now may I share one thing a little more personal from our coaching relationship? Because when you said it's how you want to see the world, I remember this. You probably remember also this, which is the negativity bias, which I have.
We all have it.
We all have it, exactly. I have it because I'm human, and all humans have it.
Yeah.
And even if 95% of our day is amazing and 5% is not so amazing, we focus on the not so amazing. And we need a reminder physical, or someone who tells you, okay, how was your day? But don't tell me only the 5%. Tell me the 95 first and then the rest.
Yeah, yeah. And the funny thing about the negativity bias is that even when you know about it, it still happens.
Yes.
So it's not only becoming aware is the first step, and then you need to play with it and you need to balance it.
Yeah, absolutely. And and connected to that, I'm curious. You talk about co- relationship, coaching, leadership. How does all of this fit into the corporate world? Into what's the connection with leadership and your leadership work?
Into the corporate world.
Yeah, in what you see in your day to day with as a leadership and executive coach.
Well, there are so many types of leaders, and there are so many ways of understanding leadership. And some people still think that a leader and a good leader is the one that who gives orders. When we talk about coaching and leadership, the way I understand it, and well, not only me, many people, you see it all over the place, and this is why we're having this conversation as well.
Yeah.
We talk about inspiring others, we talk about being curious, we talk about connecting. If you want to have a high performance team, you need to make sure that they follow you and that they are there for you because they trust you. That's the way they will give their best. If you are giving them orders and they don't trust you, then they will do what just is required.
Yeah.
So it's about purpose, it's about seeing the person again, it's about making sure that they feel that they are contributing and that they find a reason to go to work every day, and that they find as well that they are, yeah, being the best person they can be, because the fact is that we are good people.
Yes.
We all are, and that's one of the beauty, again, the beauty of coaching is how we see people. As you were saying earlier, people are complete, and people, yeah, are have a good intent,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
focusing on that is, yeah, is very powerful. And to answer to your question, it's very powerful in the corporate world to help people realize that we are changing the paradigm into a new place where we need people who care for others, who inspire others, and who can make sure that they follow because they believe in what they are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree with you. It's like between I must and I won't do that. And when you mention the purpose, which is perhaps maybe it's a very abstract word for someone, what's your purpose? And when someone asks me what's your purpose, I said first, as again, I don't know what's my purpose. Or what's the purpose of your company? And then the first thing you say, oh, it's make money. No, that's not the purpose. That's the mean. And that's the quick question. No, next. But again, going to the purpose idea, and this, I think it connects again with the curiosity, because if you are the leader of a team, you also have to be curious and to see what motivates a person, and maybe what you love and it's play to you, it's a grueling work for other one. And the contrary may be true. Oh, I hate this, but I don't want to do this. And then maybe there's someone that, oh, I love this, I want to do this all the day. And again, with this curiosity and not making the assumption that what you like, people will like it, and vice versa. What you don't like, people don't like it, and see what happens. And this is beautiful because when I did this, somehow magically the pieces of the puzzle came together, and most of the time, okay, there is always again as this, there is always this this other piece that doesn't fit, but most of the thing come together because you create the space and you
Yeah.
live also you trust that people want to do a good job. No one wakes up in the morning and say, oh, okay, now I'm going to do today a very sloppy job, and I'm going to work my share 8 hours, and I'm going to park my brain in the office, and then take it again in 8 hours. No, no one thinks that.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned assumptions earlier, and it's the second time you're mentioning
Yeah.
assumption. How do you challenge your assumptions?
Oh, I'm still learning to challenge my assumption constantly. And I would say, first of all, I, I appreciate so much feedback because, and especially, and I'm saying, of course, you as a coach, you help me so much to challenge my assumption. And I'm not even conscious of my assumption until you say, oh, Roberto, do you see that you are trying to do this? For example, and there is an anecdote which is very personal one, but I think it's relevant because it doesn't have to do with work, but it's personal life. When we discuss as an issue, not an issue, a situation about with my parents in January, and I was telling you, oh, I want to do this, I want my parents to do that, and I did it from a place of care, love, and I wanted for them the best possible life. But I was assuming that what was good for me was good for them. Again, as I said 5 minutes ago, I'm the first responsible of that. So again, here is so easy to say that, and then in real life it's not. But what I was saying that I was seeing my parents through my own lens, and I was thinking of bringing them to where I am, physically, emotionally, and everything else. And then you told me, but Roberto, do you notice that you are trying to bring them where you are, and you're putting a lot of effort into that? How would it be to go there instead and see the world through their eyes?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest learning. And of course, again and again it happens. But when you notice one time, maybe the second one is easier, and you catch yourself quicker and quicker, putting labels, making assumptions, and with this training, of course, we never end learning until we die. And actually, it's pretty curious because now we're talking about assumption, and there is a brilliant book which is called The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, and there is the first, the second, the third agreement. The third agreement is don't make any assumption, because assumption blind you to the reality.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned something very important, which is go and meet the person where they are.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take this back to my other area of expertise, working with people with cancer, because that's one of the key aspects of the relationship, and I think that's part of what makes it so special, because when you have cancer, I mean, well, so many things can happen. You can feel in so many different ways, and therefore, knowing that your coach is going to be there for you where you are is a huge relief.
Yeah.
It's a huge relief because you don't have to pretend. You don't have to be anybody else but who you are, because you're perfect the way you are. We all are. So understanding that we are the ones as coaches walking that path of getting to see you, to putting on your glasses and to explore that space. Yeah, it's a part of the success, I would say.
Absolutely. And now that you mention this, you see, we are going from personal life, work, coaching. Of course, it's all connected. And I'm curious to see what's the connection, and on how do you experience uh, an event so important as a cancer in the workplace, and what's some of the insights that you had in during these years?
Yeah. Let me go back a little bit and explain
Yeah.
where I am and why. When I mentioned that I went into coaching because I wanted to help women with who wanted to be moms after cancer. And then when I saw coactive coaching and coaching itself, for me it was like an eye opener. And I realized that it would be so helpful for people with cancer. And at that time, all the tools were focused on executives, male executives, who had challenges. And is there a biggest challenge than fighting for your life?
Well,
So, I mean, you're confronted with so many questions, situations. That's when you need most your full strength and your self confidence. And people, when they get diagnosed, they feel lost. So that's when the research started, when I thought we need to adapt this to people with cancer because it's so valuable, it's so helpful. It can't remain only in the corporate world. We need to take it back to those people. And that's how I started. And the similarities are huge. Actually, adapting those tools to these people who have specific challenges, such as dealing with your body, dealing with your environment, dealing with the medical team, dealing with your new reality. How can we equip them so they can make the best out of that? And it's not about being super positive or naive in terms of what cancer is, because I had it. I know what we are talking about.
yeah,
It's not superficial, it's not shallow. At the same time, we choose how we want to experience it. And that's our power. That's our gift as human beings. And it's up to us to really take control. And through coaching, that's how we equip them so they can feel strong, they can reconnect with who they are, so they can, use each of those tools they have in their toolkit whenever they need them.
wow. And it's beautiful because you say first you have to reconnect with yourself. And sometimes we never connect. And I remember, okay, it's not perhaps so extreme, but imagine someone that didn't have the luck that I have to experience this. I'm 42, and I said this should be done when you're 20, because I've been living a good life, a very good life. I'm very happy about that, and I'm very lucky also. And I always said about my best decision ever was to be born in Italy in 1980s. So, so I'm so lucky, and I chose that, of course. So if I had the opportunity to discover all this when I was 20, when I was a teenager, I would have all these tools and I will be much better equipped for this. And then imagine that you have such a big challenge as an illness that can threaten your life, and you never ever connected with all of these things. So you have to do it in one of the worst possible moment, and at the same time, this gives even more value to what you are doing because you are doing it in the moment they need it the most.
Yeah, exactly. You're saying maybe if I had known when I was 20, maybe if you had known when you were 20, you wouldn't have been open to it.
Exactly.
And yeah, cancer, as any other challenging situation, is an opportunity. And yeah, as you're saying, when we talk about coaching and cancer, we are talking about a lot more than telling people when to take a pill. That's not what we do. It's about who you wanna be. Who do you wanna be during this process? How do you want your world, your life to be from now on? And as we said earlier, we know that there are circumstances that we need to learn to accept, yes, and then it's how we experience those circumstances, what we want to do with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this reminds me another thing, and I swear it was not prepared, but it connects so much with another thing that I have here, which is do you recognize this? Which is
Oh
how,
yeah.
how can I, even in these circumstances, how can I not play not to lose? And how can I play to win? And the question is, how can you play to win when you know that you have 3 months to live? And you know it's a reality. what is playing to win in this situation?
Is this a question that you want me to answer? Because I guess that's each of us needs to find that
Exactly.
answer. What
Exactly.
I could say is that playing to win is making your living that period of time the way you wish to live it without letting fears or others or social context do it for you, impose you.
Absolutely. And there's one other thing that also connects to this is that asking the question of how do you want the people around you to remember you in
Yeah.
this moment? How do we want to remember you? And not only in this extreme situation, but then if we take it to our day-to-day lives, okay, now of course we are talking about something that doesn't happen so often, but it happens. And we have also to normalize that it's part of a life. And
It happens to 1 in 2 people, so it happens quite often.
exactly. And you know, this is, I'm surprised by this. I didn't have this again, the assumption. No, you say one every two. So okay, it's like we are in a room of 10 people, 5 of us are going to experience this. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's powerful, huh? And we're not ready for it.
No.
And we don't know how to behave when we have someone who has a cancer diagnosis. What would you do if you have someone in your team who tells you, I have cancer? How would you feel?
Well, I think at first, I think I would feel a bit overwhelmed. And I say, how can I be there for this person? What what do they need from me? And and yeah, it's and also on the other side, if I was the one
Mm.
having that, what and the first thing I would think is, first of all, what would I like to be treated as? And what would I need for other people?
Yeah.
And then what I would like to show and to express to this person. Besides, of course, full support and flexibility and all these things that I think it's obvious. But I would maybe try to go a little more deeper. And when when I see, for example, this is my in me, if I was that, I think I would struggle to feel that I'm the same person.
Mm.
That I'm not, for example, that I'm not less than before. And I'm the same person, I have the same mind, same energy. There's something just in my body that doesn't work.
Yes. And thank you for saying that because what you're talking about is identity.
Yes,
And when we have a situation like this, our identity somehow crumbles. And it's like, who are we now?
yes,
It's same as when you're an executive and you think that you are what you do. You're not. You are far more than that. So you have cancer. Who are you? And how do you want people to see you? And I worked with so many people with cancer. I don't know. I haven't counted them. And I can tell you that most of them fear to go and give their diagnosis because they don't want others to say, oh, poor you.
yeah,
So they don't want to feel that they are being put in the
yeah.
victim.
Yeah, it's like an armor, no? I want to take off my armor. I don't want to show, and maybe even hide. When you said that, well, maybe I would have that, be tempted to hide away and to,
Yeah, because I want to keep my identity
yeah,
of being because I still am the same person.
exactly.
And what happens is that because we don't know how to treat people with cancer, we
Yes,
start making assumptions.
yes,
And we start thinking that they need to hear, oh, poor you, or oh, you are so strong, or oh, I'm not going to copy you on the emails because you don't want to be disturbed, rather than asking. And everything goes back to the essence. First, the person with cancer, you need to work on, again, who do you want to be out there? What's the identity you want to keep or to create? And work on it. And then as the person from the outside, as the colleague, how do you want to be there for that person? What are the questions that you want to ask? How do you want them to feel? And it's a journey based on communication, trust, and
Absolutely.
good intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You asked and you said something earlier, and I would like to go back to it, even though it's not very coaching style because we dance in the moment. But I really want to bring it back, which was
Yes.
what you were saying about what you do when you only have 3 months left.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you take the most out of them, or how do you experience them? I can share a couple of situations with clients that I had. One of them, the first time she had cancer, she was 40 years old, and she came to me and she was so upset, so mad, so angry. Her mom had died from cancer, and she was like, oh, this can't be happening to me. Her anger wouldn't allow her to see anything else. So we were working, and she started opening up to the extent that at some point she was cancer free, and she allowed herself to be in good terms with her own body, so she could welcome an intimate relationship. She had a partner, they bought a house together. She was an architect, she designed the house, and she had like 2 years where she could share her life with this other person, this man. Eventually the cancer came back, and finally she passed away. And her partner, her boyfriend or husband, called me and said, thank you so much, because I had the opportunity to meet her and spend the best 3 years of my life, and also because the coaching allowed her to experience life from a different place.
And again, thank you for sharing this story. And this connects with one thing that you said before, which is was the gift that some event or situation has for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And what's the impact we have on others? Because when I was coaching this person, Silvina, it was her work, right? It was her life, it was her cancer, and it was her loving experience. It wasn't about him at all. He wasn't part of the picture. And then he felt grateful, and it was a gift for him as well. So Silvina had such an impact on so many people, not only on him, and so many other people. Her journey was amazing. And that's what we all do. We all have an impact on others. That is also a gift.
Yes. And thank you also for bringing this, because this is something that, again, and dancing from the personal to the professional, even when you are at work, for example, maybe we say, and you share this with me, I remember, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I'm so grateful for that, because even if you are in, maybe we are in a difficult moment, maybe there's something that's not working out, or maybe, again, you're focusing on this 5% that's not okay, there's 95, whatever is the situation, we always have an impact. We are in a meeting, we enter in a meeting, maybe you're one of the 20 tiles, but maybe you made me take this perspective. Maybe you're one of the 20 tiles, but perhaps one of the other 19 see you smiling authentically, and you make his day better. So
Yeah.
you have an impact. And if you don't show up, if you close your camera or are like this, what's the impact that you have on these people? So we always have more impact that we feel. We don't have to be the CEO of the company to have impact. Of course, the CEO have a lot of impact. Of course, that is multiply. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we cannot have impact in our own
Yeah.
circle every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that yeah, makes me think of something that actually we explore a lot when we talk to leaders, which is giving feedback.
Oh,
Giving feedback is one of these things that many people don't feel comfortable about
yeah,
because it kind of confronts them with a challenging situation, difficult conversation. What are they going to think? Am I going to hurt them? So if I have to give feedback, I am focusing on how I am feeling and how am I going to make the other person feel. And basically, it's my fears and my
yeah.
what if, what if, what
On
if.
yourself, not on the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And something we don't think, or not always at least, is what happens if I don't give feedback?
Huh.
What happens if I don't tell this person that they could improve, I don't know, the way they organize their PowerPoint presentation? Something simple. If you don't tell them, maybe they will continue to work on not great presentations for 3 years. Whereas if you tell them, hey, again, it's a gift. Feedback is a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And and what you said, Teresa, reminds me so much of a metaphor that I think we both love, which is putting the fish on the table.
From
And
dear
you,
George Colvisher, yeah.
absolutely. And you just display if you don't put the fish, the stinky fish on the table, what happens? It rots down. And it's so beautiful, this metaphor from Josh, because it's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And then you go through the smelly and bloody mess. But then the person knows. We talk about trust. When you say this from with respect, of course, but at least at the same time with a little of daring also. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to dare you with this, and you may take it or leave it. It's a gift. You may throw it away in the trash. I will give it to you. Do whatever you want with this gift. You are doing a presentation that doesn't look so professional to me. What do you say? Okay, but then at least you know where this person stands. You know what they're thinking. So you trust that the next time they will tell you, and the next time doesn't feel so because you did it and nothing happened. The person didn't take off a knife and stab you. Of course, it's like okay, and again you're in your fear. What are they going to do, and are they going to react? And maybe they know all along, and and maybe they even thank you. Okay, oh thank you. Yes, I knew I was doing this because I actually was waiting for you to tell me because I've been passing from a whatever difficult moment in my personal life. I know I'm doing a sloppy job, and I know how can you help me with this? And then you discover something maybe even.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
and
And how the way you're saying it's okay. You need to do it from a place of respect.
yeah,
So again, I'm gonna quote George and Susan and this wonderful book they've written, Care to Dare, which talks about how you first need to care for your people,
yes,
so you can build that trust that will allow you to go one step farther, to dare to tell them things, dare to ask for more results, for more from them, and you can dare when you have first build that safety space by caring for others.
absolutely. And we could go on for hours, of course, talking about this. There are so many examples, and one thing connect to the other, and again and again. But I would like to take you, if you think it's okay, Teresa, to check 1 second if you have some
Okay.
questions, so we
Yes,
can
please.
interact with the people who's connected. If the connection works, because now sometimes we have some hiccups. So let's see if we have some comments. Okay, I see here. Hello, feedback is a very valuable thing. Okay, so if you have any more questions, put it here in the chat. We will check it again. And now let's come back. I have one thing that I'm very curious, and I would love also to leave some space because I'm so curious to hear about it. And Teresa, what's the thing or the project that excites you the most at this moment?
I'm writing a book.
Wow.
I'm writing a book. And I have two projects actually. One is my company, Soul Reconnect, where we help people with cancer within the organization, and that's very exciting. It's been running for a couple of years, so now I'm focused on another one, which is the book I'm writing. Yeah, and that's almost done, and yeah, it's the beginning of something for me. Yeah.
Can you give some spoiler about it?
I was gonna ask you if you wanna know more. Yeah, the book is about how coaching can help and empower people with cancer. So what we've been talking about in terms of how, yeah, we can use tools to address specific situations, specific topics. That's what's covered in that book. And the main goal, of course, is to, as we said earlier, to equip people so they can really experience cancer and be the ones driving the car in this situation. And there's a bigger goal for me, which is to transform the way we perceive cancer in the world, the way we perceive people with cancer, and also within the organization, the role of our organizations. Because we said it earlier, 1 in 2 will have cancer at some point in their lives. It's happening more and more, and the companies need to be accountable in the way of creating the awareness, offering the employees help to really, yeah, be with them in these difficult times. So yeah, the book is not, it's not a memoir. It's not about my experience. It's about where you are if you have cancer, and of course if you have any other disease. It's also helpful. It works with examples, with techniques to really address and understand sometimes why I feel this way and what can I do about it. To understand, for example, to give you an example, I talk about loss and about grief, because when you have cancer, all of a sudden you have lost who you have been up until now. That's over. That's over. And so the challenge is not only to face cancer and the diagnosis and the threat of, oh, maybe I'm gonna die. Yeah, that's one, and that's very, very powerful. And at the same time, is grieving that maybe for the next year, I won't be able to walk my kids to school,
Yes.
or I won't be able to taste good wine, or I won't be able to go to the gym. And when we feel that way, and when we feel that this is major for us, oh, come on, I feel bad because I won't be able to drink wine, for example, we feel ashamed
Yes.
because we think that we should be worrying about other.
Yes.
And
Yeah. How
we
can I
need
be
to
thinking
learn.
about this? Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you talk to someone who hasn't had cancer, they will be like, oh, come on. And
Yeah. And then you don't feel seen, of course, because they say, oh,
yeah,
and you feel shame again because, oh, come on, but that's not how am I feeling?
yeah.
Wow.
And people tend to judge. And we are also very tough on ourselves and we judge ourselves. So learning how to give space to those feelings, learning how to embrace even the fear, the rage, the sadness, knowing that, yeah, it's part of a cycle. It's part of a cycle, of the grieving cycle. And at some point, yeah, there will be a light and things will get back to, not to the old normal, to a new normal. And part of that work is, how do you want your new normal to be? And how do you want to be there in that new normal?
And Teresa, when you say all of this, I have the feeling that reading this book is not only useful to people who are going through this, but also who are not yet going through this, or who have someone in their circle that is going through this or is going to do, because it looks like it's giving more some language and normalize some situation and make you see from different perspectives. So when these things happen, of course, you're not never. I think you can never be prepared for this. At least I don't feel prepared, but at least you are more open.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think anybody can benefit from those techniques and from that perspective. Yeah, and it will help understand people with cancer. And of course, every experience is unique. So, and the book is not about giving advice. Of course, I would never do that. It's about offering the questions, the tools to get to where you want to be, to connect with your real self and find your own answers there.
Yeah, again, which is the essence of coaching. I give you the tools, you are doing the work, and the work is not during the session, it's outside. It's what you do after that, and how do you want to live that, and how do you feel this, and then you apply this in your day to day. It's
Yeah,
not about giving solutions.
yeah, absolutely. There is one thing that is part of my approach, which is that for me, cancer is not a fight, it's not a battle. And this is a concept that right from the beginning, when I got my diagnosis, and they were like, "Oh, you're a warrior," and there were these hashtags like "fuck cancer" and things like that. That wasn't helpful for me, and because that wasn't the way I wanted to experience it. So this terminology, I'm not using it. At some point, there is a chapter about that covers the hero's journey, because we are all heroes. You don't have to go to a battle to be a hero. So embracing cancer rather than fighting it, same as we embrace our emotions rather than fighting them, I think is part of the journey. We don't, it's not being happy because we have cancer. That's not what I said. It's embracing what life is bringing, and learning what to do with it.
Again, you mentioned choosing. You can always choose what you want to express, how you want to react. And this is beautiful because I think it also connects with everything else that happens in our life. We may lose a person dear to us. We may lose our job. We may lose something that's it's important, a friend or a relationship or whatever. And this is also, of course, it's different contexts. But it's also a loss. We are not the same person anymore. And again, the identity and all the things we talk about. I'm very curious to see when the book is going to come out.
That's a great question. Hopefully by next year it will be ready, because we need to go through the
Yeah,
revision with the publishers, and if it's before then, fantastic. I'm I'm almost ready. My part is almost done, so
yeah, I'm sure it will be amazing. And I see a lot of this intent and wanting to share all these things and this awareness also, bringing more awareness, more common language, more tools to people, all because you lived it, you saw it in so many people. Now it's, again, the beauty of the books. You can read in 2 hours the experience of a lifetime multiplied by, wow.
thank you, Roberto. Thank you for your words. Really.
Thank you. And I would like it, I'm conscious of the time. And again, we could go on for hours. Would like to check one more time if you have some more questions. And then, let's see. Thank you, Anas. Thank you for your feedback. I saw a comment. And okay, I have one more question for you, Teresa, which is now that we're approaching the end of this wonderful conversation. I would love to know, what would you like to see more in the world, and what would you like to see less in the world?
Great question. More self kindness. kindness in general, self-kindness is we forget more and how we treat ourselves. We are mirrors, so it defines how we want others to treat themselves and treat others.
Absolutely.
What do I want to see less? Judgment. Yeah. And demands. Yeah. And expectations.
Yeah.
Here I could go on and on for hours.
Yes.
What about you?
Oh, I definitely subscribe to the less judgment that you said, 100%. And the other side of the coin that I would love to see more is curiosity.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I would like to see more curiosity in general about people, about things, and more of the letting ourselves be surprised, like our children that are always happy. They're always happy and they open it. Wow, they teach us so much, and I'm so grateful for that because uh, I've always been a curious person, but more after having kids because they are reminding me this. So I would love to see more of this, and I would love to see that our kids and that this generation keep this curiosity. They don't have to rediscover it when they are
Yeah.
40 or 30, because we all have it. It's by default.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's super nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah.
And one more thing, Teresa, of course, before closing, if someone who is listening to this live or recording wants to connect with you or know more about your project, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Email works very well, and LinkedIn works very well. LinkedIn, there is my name. They can find me and send me a message. And also my email address is teresa@teresaferreiro.com, and my website, teresaferreiro.com. It's not yet in English. Sorry about that. It's in the process. So it's in my to-do list as a project manager. So
Yeah, it will be there.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Teresa, for your time, for your presence, for the generosity with which you share everything that you learn, not only with me, but with all the world. Of course, it's, we
Thank you.
need we
Thank
need
you.
more of this.
And I want to acknowledge all the work that you do and how important it is, everything you're sharing. And really, you still have so much to 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 do, and so much that I want to keep on seeing and enjoying. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Thank you. And thank you for the people who's connected there and who spent this wonderful time with us. For me, it was a pleasure again, and I'm sure we'll see us soon.
Exactly. Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Teresa. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.